Alright, welcome to RetroOS. Today we're going to be setting up Windows 3.1 in VMware, which means you'll need VMware, obviously, a boot disk, and install disks for MS-DOS and Windows 3.1. I've got my disks saved as disk images on my system. First thing we're going to do is load up VMware and select Create a New Virtual Machine. In the new window, select I will install the operating system later. On the next screen, we'll choose Windows 3.1 from the drop-down menu, then give it a name. Select virtual hard drive size. I went with 1 gig for this setup. And we'll keep the default of splitting the virtual disk. Verify your settings, then click Finish. We'll get dropped back to the VMware main menu. Select the virtual machine and hit Settings, because I forgot to add the floppy drive on the settings verification page. I'm going to select Use Floppy Image File and select my boot disk. I don't have a DOS boot disk, unfortunately, but I got this working with a Windows 95 boot disk, which I've saved a copy of with my DOS disk images. Mount the boot disk, or insert the boot disk if you're using a physical drive, and verify that Connect at Power On is selected. Select Play Virtual Machine. This will load up an interface, read from the boot disk, and give you a prompt for the floppy drive. We're going to change out disks and select Disk 1 for DOS. You can verify the directories by typing in dir and hitting Enter. The file we want is setup.exe. Type in setup.exe at the A drive prompt, and you'll get a notification to insert Disk 1 for DOS, and press Ctrl-Alt-Delete. Press Ctrl-Alt on your keyboard to back out of VMware and hit the Send Ctrl-Alt-Delete to Virtual Machine button. The DOS setup is really easy, and we're going to stick with the defaults on this. When the install starts, you'll be prompted to switch disks a couple times. Mount the next disk image, or insert the next disk, and press Enter to continue. When setup finishes, disconnect your disk image or eject your floppy and hit Enter. The virtual machine reboots and loads up MS-DOS. With DOS installed, we can get Windows 3.1 loaded, which is just as straightforward. We'll start by mounting or inserting disk 1 and giving a run command to a:/setup.exe. This will initialize Windows 3.1 setup. We'll stick with the Express setup, just to be simple and make sure everything is working on the first try. Change to Disk 2 when prompted, and press Enter. Enter a name and company for your Windows 3.1 license, and hit Continue. Continue swapping disks and hitting Continue as prompted. We'll cancel out of the printer setup and skip the tutorial, which can be revisited after Windows is installed if you'd like to check it out. And that wraps it up. We'll reboot the computer, load into DOS, and give the run command for C:/Windows/win. Hit Enter, and you're now in Windows 3.1. And the past. Good job. In the next 3.1 VMware video, we'll go over getting sound working with your virtual machine, because sound is important. Thanks for watching. And if you've got any 3.1 tips or setup advice you'd like to give, I'd love to hear from you in the comments.